Alright, so we're back here again doing some more testing. This time we have the Polaris RZR Trail S 1000 Premium. So how the RZR Trail differentiates from the regular RZRs is that they're just narrower, and that's so that in the American market they can nick through forests a little easier than the wider footed race spec RZRs like the XP. So this particular Trail S 1000, it comes with the big 999cc engine that we get in the other XP thousands, so it's a similar engine, or the same one. It's bigger than the 875cc 900 that we've been testing. It comes with a much wider stance too. It's about 25 centimeters wider than the other Trail, S 900 that we've been testing, but it's still narrower than the RZR XP. So the Trail S 1000 Premium pumps out about 100 horsepower, which is pretty good. It carries about 136 kilos in the box at the back, which is small, bigger than an RZR XP or the race spec models, but obviously nowhere near as big as a Ranger and then a General. It weighs roughly about 600 kilos, so it's pretty light for a 1000cc RZR. So this particular model Trail S, the 1000 Premium, you can tow nearly 700 kilos, we think, with it. It's got a tow hitch at the back, which is pretty handy, and it carries roughly 31 centimeters of ground clearance. So it's got the 27-inch tyres. They're the Trailmaster tyres. We think they're better than the Polaris tyres that come on more of their base model RZRs. Obviously, it's got the Walker Evans shocks. Now, those shocks are better than the, I think it's the Sachs ZF gear that's in the standard models across most of the Polaris range. And so finally, the suspension in this model, it comes with the dual A-arms and the stabilizers. They're a little bit wider than the Trail S 900, but they're not quite as wide as the RZR XP, which is why it falls into that trail category, because it's just a narrower, smaller vehicle. So this model runs the same roll cage that the XPs do, I believe. So to have that kind of security in a vehicle like this is pretty good. The front's got a big thick bumper, the rear's got a big thick bumper, kind of like the RZR XPs as well, and they offer a bit more protection than, say, a Ranger and some of the General models as well. This particular model Trail S 1000 has a slightly more flared guard. This is because the tyres stand out from the vehicle as opposed to the 900, where they're kind of in line with the vehicle. So the flared guard is a nice touch. We'll see if that stops us from getting mud and stuff up into the cab. It's got the same side steps down the side that we're used to on most of the Trail models from Polaris, and these doors, they just pop out and they flare out, a little less contoured than the 900 as well, but they kind of make it look like a bit of a bigger, chunkier vehicle. So with this particular model that we have today, we've got a windscreen, which is not standard, and we've got the windscreen with a wiper, which we're keen to test because it's been pissing with rain all week and it's disgustingly muddy, so we're going to make good use out of that. The roof is also not standard, but you'd be crazy not to run a roof on one of these things. They're not expensive, and they'll keep you keep the mud out, and they'll keep the rain out, and they'll keep the sun out. They do an excellent job. Also, that rigid light bar isn't standard. We got it fitted so that we could do some shooting later at night. So inside the cab is actually the same as the other Trail S 900, the cheaper, smaller version. You get the two RZR bucket seats, which we're going to test for comfort. It's got the regular display, which pulls up a whole bunch of different gearing, where your revs are at, your trip meters, your engine temperature, your outside temperature, all that kind of stuff is on your display at the front there. And then you've got like your missile switches down in the middle center console, which allows you to flick between four-wheel drive and two-wheel drive, and for this particular model, put the wipers on and off, put your high beams on and off. The steering wheel is adjustable. You can tilt it up and back, and the seat can come forward and back too, so if you're shorter or taller, you can kind of fit pretty comfortably within this vehicle. Alright, so now you know what the Trail S 1000 Premium is all about. We're going to go and hit our track for the next few weeks and see what we kind of find. We're going to put it on the 0 to 100 meter mark, see how quick it does that. We're going to put it through our selected motocross track / grass track, and we've got a pretty good trail loop. So stay tuned, we'll go and do this testing. We'll come back and tell you what we think. Alright guys, that is a wrap for testing the Polaris RZR Trail S 1000 Premium. We've taken on everything in the last couple of weeks, from muck bug holes to race tracks. We've done some rock climbing. We've tried to trail ride it, which I guess is the intention for this vehicle. And obviously it's taller than a regular RZR 1000 XP, and it doesn't quite have the same footprint, the width, but it's still pretty capable on a motocross track or on a grass track, and it will go almost as quick in most scenarios as the RZR XP base model as well. So some of the things we found that it did really well is that despite being quite a tall vehicle, it's designed to climb rocks and bits and pieces, and technically narrow in the body, it was actually quite planted. It's got quite a wide footprint for a trail model RZR, so we found its suspension was really good. We like that Walker Evans gear. We think it's different to the race stuff. The race stuff's got a little bit more travel, and it's probably going to feel softer, the race stuff, because it's meant to absorb things going quicker. As for the motor, the 1000, it's a naturally aspirated motor, so there's no turbo in it, and it hammers. It's got heaps of grunt, heaps of torque. We got out of bog holes in low range, no problem, and we've been able to put it in high range and race around a track pretty quickly too. So you're going to keep up with all your mates on the XP races with this model trail, because the engine is pretty smooth and it's incredibly fast. But we also really like the roll cage. You get a full RZR spec roll cage, so that if you do happen to go over, but if you do happen to go over, you're less likely to get hurt. The Trail S 1000 runs the Trail Master tyre. We love it. We found it got traction everywhere. It's a 27-inch tyre, which is slightly bigger too than most of the Rangers, some of the Generals. So you get a bit better traction, you get a bit better crawl and drive, and with the bigger tyre dimensions. So we really like all the extra bits that the Trail comes with, like the running side steps down the side. We could kind of lean onto them. We were doing a bit of off-camber stuff, and they're pretty sturdy and tough. You can pretty much roll the whole side by side onto them and it won't bend or fold, so it gives you an extra layer of protection. We got a bar on the front. This is a bigger than normal bar. It was good to nudge gates and bits and pieces and push through some bush and scrub. We also like that this Trail S was fitted with a windscreen with a wiper. So we really liked the fact this has a wiper, and the wiper water is actually built onto the wiper itself, so it's a bit more accurate with clearing all that mud every 30 seconds on the trail. All the trail models get the RZR seats. These RZR seats are really comfortable, and you can do a lot more time in them throughout the day than you can, say, the Ranger bench seat. Incredibly comfortable, it's adjustable, and it kind of hugs you and grips your torso so that you're not kind of bouncing around as you are flying along a bit of track. We like also how well it steers. This is a very accurate and quite a heavy steering vehicle, as opposed to some of the more agricultural machines. And the good thing about the heavy steering is that it doesn't float when you get up to speed. So we planted it and tried to get as quick as we could, 60, 70, 80 k's an hour, and it didn't start floating around. The steering didn't get light. The steering felt heavy and firm, and you had lots of control. So one thing that was kind of annoying with this model is that while my favourite feature was the width of the wheel track with those longer A-arms, the downside is that they actually stick out past the body a bit. Now that's not because it's going to get caught or anything, but it's been wet a lot here, so everywhere we drove it managed to flip water up and inside the cab. They have fitted a bigger flared guard on the Trail S 1000 Premium because of the extra width in the wheels, but even that wasn't enough to stop the water getting onto your arm. So it's a very minor thing, but it was kind of annoying. I don't know if a big set of mud flaps would prevent some of that too. I'm going to say it's suited mostly to people who have access to large blocks of land and want to mainly use it for trail riding or trail driving. So think guys who have hills they want to try and climb with their mates, big long loops that are tough four-wheel drive / dirt bike tracks. This is the kind of vehicle with a bit more ground clearance and less aggressive race gear than a traditional RZR. This kind of vehicle will do that easier with more comfort and leave you with more change in your pocket. So that's who I would recommend for this vehicle. That being said, you can use it for a little bit of agricultural stuff. We used it to muster. It was totally fine. It did that job pretty easily. It enabled us to get in and out of some ravines and creeks that we can't do in a Ranger. So that was handy to pick up a few cattle that had just wandered down, but you don't have that massive box carrying capacity, so you obviously can't do big loads and big work in it, but it still can be used for a bit of mustering too. So any of the big properties up north that are looking for replacements for their old dirt bikes and old ATVs, and they want something that's sturdy and more ground clearance and better suspension to just hammer through the bush and hit rocks and hit logs and bits and pieces, I would probably suggest this one, the Trail S 1000 Premium, over the Ranger and even the general models.